She chose him over me. And that's the day I died. But fate wasn't done with me. Reborn with nothing but pain in my veins and fire in my heart, I built a global empire from ashes. Now she's at my door, crying for a second chance. But what she doesn't know is, the truth she abandoned was never what it seemed. If you want more unbelievable miracle stories like this, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. From the moment she walked away from me under that cold, trembling streetlight, clinging to the hand of the man she had chosen over me, I felt something inside me collapse, a silent, suffocating implosion that turned the whole world into a blurry, metallic echo. I remember her eyes, once warm and full of futures she claimed we would build together, now glassy with guilt and fear, as she whispered, "I'm sorry, he can give me the life you can't." And before I could even breathe, before I could find words to tie her to reality, she disappeared into the black sedan that swallowed my last hope, leaving me in the rain like a discarded chapter of a book she no longer wished to read. And that night, when I staggered back home, drenched and broken, fate dealt its final blow. I collapsed on my apartment floor, chest burning like someone had set fire to my ribs, darkness consuming me so fast I couldn't even cry out for help. The doctors later said it was a cardiac arrest triggered by extreme emotional shock, but I wouldn't know because technically, I died for 3 minutes, drifting through a void where memories flashed like flickering film reels. Her laughter, her promises, her touch, the future we planned, in one last attempt to tether me to life. And when I was pulled back, when the electroshock slammed me back into my own body, the first breath I took tasted of pain, betrayal, and destiny itself, whispering, "Start again." But the world didn't slow down for my rebirth. I awoke to emptiness, my job gone, my friends distant, my mother crying silently outside the ICU because she thought she had lost her only child. But in that moment of ruin, a strange clarity settled in me like a spark waiting for oxygen. I knew I had to disappear, reinvent, rebuild myself, not from ambition, but from the raw, electric desperation to never again be powerless. And so, with trembling hands and a heart stitched in agony, I left my old life behind like a corpse I refused to mourn, moving to a distant city where no one knew me, where grief could not chase me, where my name meant nothing, but my will meant everything. In the beginning, I slept on floors, ate little, and worked 3 jobs: delivery boy at dawn, warehouse handler by noon, cleaner at night. But every second, every breath, I clung to a new vision forming in my mind like a prophecy, a brand, a global identity, something powerful enough to eclipse my past and force the world, not her, not him, but the world, to recognize the man they once overlooked. The idea struck me like lightning while I was sweeping the floor of a small cafe where I overheard 2 customers complaining about how all the major fashion brands copied each other, how nothing felt original anymore. And the phrase "original souls" kept ringing in my mind until I rushed to a borrowed laptop and sketched a rough logo, OS, woven like infinity loops crossing each other, symbolizing rebirth through pain. And with that single spark, I threw myself into building what would one day become the global powerhouse Oskir, though back then it wasn't a brand, just a dream clutched in trembling fingers. With borrowed money, I started printing small batches of uniquely textured, one-of-a-kind jackets, each hand-designed late at night in my cramped room. And though the world barely noticed, a lone influencer stumbled upon one, posted a picture wearing it, and overnight my inbox exploded with orders, like a tidal wave crashing against the shore of my previous insignificance. From that moment, everything accelerated. Manufacturers wanted to collaborate, investors called me the future of original fashion. And within 2 years, Osphere transformed from a one-man struggle to an international phenomenon, with stores across continents, celebrities wearing my designs, magazines calling me the phoenix of fashion, unaware how literal that metaphor was, because I had risen from death itself. And I worked tirelessly, relentlessly, fueled not by revenge, but by a burning promise to the version of myself who died alone on that cold floor. But life, with its twisted humor, was not finished yet. And it wasn't until Osphere hit global recognition that she reappeared in my life like a ghost clawing her way back from the past. She arrived at my headquarters unannounced, her once shiny confidence replaced by trembling regret, her eyes swollen as if the truth had been drowning her for years. And when she whispered my name, it felt strange, foreign, like it belonged to someone she had buried long ago. I still remember the way her fingers shook as she tried to touch my arm, the way her voice cracked as she admitted that the man she chose had ruined her life. The luxury he promised was a trap, his love a performance, his betrayal catastrophic, leaving her abandoned with debt, scars, and no one to turn to. And now, standing in the lobby of the empire she once believed I could never build, she begged for my forgiveness, for another chance, for a place in the life she once rejected. But what pierced me wasn't her words, it was the fear in her voice when she said, "I didn't know, you were dying that night." Because she had found out from a mutual friend who heard the story of my collapse and my temporary death. Suddenly, the weight of the past crashed back into my chest with a vengeance, her betrayal, my rebirth, my relentless climb. But as she cried in front of me, unraveling like a fragile thread, something unexpected stirred in me. Not anger, not triumph, but a haunting truth I had tried to outrun. I hadn't built the empire to prove her wrong. I had built it to prove myself alive, worthy, unstoppable. And now that I had become all that, revenge felt too small, too empty to hold the magnitude of my journey. But before I could speak, another twist pierced the moment. The man she left me for stepped into the building with 2 security guards, his voice echoing through the hall as he claimed she was lying, that she was manipulating me, that she had never loved me in the first place. And suddenly, the air thickened with tension as the 2 of them argued, revealing secrets neither expected the other to know. And their revelations spilled like toxic venom. She admitted he had tracked her, threatened her, isolated her, and he exposed that she had been receiving messages about my rising fame long before she showed up, suggesting she returned not out of love, but out of desperation for a lifeline. And the truth hit me like a cold blade. I was nothing more than a refuge from the storm she had created for herself. The pain of this reality should have crushed me, but it didn't, because in that moment of chaos, everything crystallized. The night she chose him, the night I died, the years I rebuilt myself piece by piece. I finally realized my story was never about her, never about revenge, never about proving myself to the ghosts of my past. It was about the miracle of becoming someone who could survive death, heartbreak, betrayal, and still rise undefeated. So I stepped back, letting security escort them both out, ignoring their pleas, their accusations, their attempts to drag me back into a past I had long outgrown. And as the lobby doors closed behind them, the world seemed to fall silent, not with emptiness, but with liberation, with a strange peace that tasted like victory. Days later, a journalist asked me what drove me to build Osphere, and for the first time, I answered honestly. Pain is the greatest architect. It destroys you to rebuild you stronger. And that quote went viral, becoming the motto of millions who found strength in their own brokenness. And as I stood on the balcony of my headquarters one night, overlooking the glowing city that once felt too big for me, I finally whispered goodbye to the boy who died on that cold floor, and to the girl who walked away from him, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because without her betrayal, I would never have discovered the unbreakable version of myself that destiny intended all along. And so my story continues, not as a tale of revenge, but a legend of rebirth, resilience, and a reminder that sometimes the person who chooses to leave you is the very reason you become unstoppable.